Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. All right, let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we are looking at the legendary golden city of Lord Krishna, Dwaraka. Now, according to ancient texts, this was a magnificent, heavily fortified metropolis that was completely swallowed by the sea. And, for a long time, the world just looked out at the surface of the ocean and assumed this city was nothing more than a beautiful myth, a story of gods and magic. But, as you're going to see, beneath those calm waters, ancient history is quite literally sleeping.
So here's the big question we're tackling. Can modern oceanography prove ancient mythology? For decades, people really thought this epic tale of a sunken golden city was just an imaginative story. But what if it's not? What if it actually represents a massive, catastrophic, and very real geological event that science is only just now beginning to prove? Today, we aren't just talking about ancient lore. We are diving deep into marine archaeology, carbon dating, and global sea level data.
But to really grasp the science, we first kind of need to understand the lore that kicked off this whole search. According to the Mahabharata, Queen Gandhari, who was just heartbroken over the death of her sons, actually cursed Lord Krishna right after the Kurukshetra War. She proclaimed, "Your Yadava clan will slaughter each other, and the sea will swallow your magnificent Dwaraka." So the ancient texts basically predicted the city's dramatic watery downfall exactly 36 years after that great war.
Okay, moving right into phase one, the physical proof.
Guys, the sheer scale of reality we are dealing with here is absolutely astounding. Back in the early 2000s, researchers from the National Institute of Ocean Technology were out using acoustic sonar to map beneath the seafloor in the Gulf of Cambay, right off the coast of Gujarat. And what did they find 120 feet underwater? A massive sunken city. We're talking 7 to 8 kilometers long and 3 to 4 kilometers wide. That's a huge footprint. They found perfectly aligned building foundations, L-shaped stone blocks, copper bells, intact human remains, and even the ancient Gomati River channel plunging 12 kilometers straight into the sea. Now here's where it gets really crazy. The crucial point is how perfectly these underwater findings mirror the ancient descriptions. The texts describe a heavily fortified port where a very specific security seal was strictly required for entry. Fast forward to modern excavations, led by the legendary marine archaeologist Dr. S.R. Rao. His team discovered over 120 stone anchors and a physical conch shell stamp engraved with a three-headed animal, like a mix of a bull, a unicorn, and a goat. It is exactly like the security seal the text described. Dr. Rao famously declared that this discovery had successfully turned myth into reality. And hey, speaking of those anchors, 496 kilograms. That is the staggering weight of the largest stone anchor discovered at Bet Dwaraka, an island nearby. What's absolutely mind-blowing about this is that geological testing showed this massive anchor was carved from basalt rock. And basalt doesn't even naturally exist anywhere near Dwaraka. It had to be transported over 200 kilometers from mountains like Mount Girnar. Just think about the advanced logistics required thousands of years ago to transport a half-ton stone that kind of distance. It's wild. So what does this all mean? Well, these findings prove that Dwaraka wasn't just some localized religious center. It was a highly advanced international naval base. The artifacts they pulled up show direct, bustling trade links with Mesopotamia, who actually called India Maluha. They found anchors designed in the exact styles used in ancient Cyprus and Syria, along with Roman amphorae and lead pieces. They were basically running a massive global supply chain right from the west coast of India.
All right, which brings us to phase two, the sinking mechanism. So you might be wondering, how does a heavily fortified, wealthy, and advanced international trade hub just disappear underwater seemingly overnight? How does a sea literally swallow a city? Well, 15 meters. According to modern climatology and marine researchers, that is exactly how high the sea levels suddenly rose on the west coast of India. We are not talking about a gradual, slow creep of water here. We're talking about a catastrophic, massive ocean pulse. Basically, a tsunami-like natural disaster that slammed into the shoreline and completely swallowed the coast. And here's the thing. This wasn't some isolated, local freak accident. It was a global, geological, climatic shift. Geologist Paul Blanchin's research found that around 5600 BCE, Caribbean Sea coral reefs suddenly experienced a 6.5-meter rise. Just 50 years later, in 5550 BCE, Columbia University geologists Ryan and Pittman proved the Black Sea was violently formed when it was flooded by the Mediterranean. And then, when you use astronomical dating software to plot the planetary alignments described in the Mahabharata, it places the sinking of Dwaraka right at 5525 BCE. All of these catastrophic floods happened practically simultaneously across the entire planet. And actually, we've got the collateral damage to prove it. Dwaraka wasn't the only victim of this monumental natural disaster. The sudden climate shock caused massive 3-meter inland water surges that completely flooded other major ancient Indian cities, like Dholavira and Lothal. Even over on the east coast of India, the ancient port city of Pumpuhar was completely submerged during this exact same era. This was a continental-scale flooding event. Let's move into Phase 3, the timeline collision.
Right now, we are at a super fascinating scientific crossroads. There is a massive controversy currently splitting historians, archaeologists, and scientists regarding the true age of these underwater ruins. The crucial point here is that we have two conflicting sets of hard data. On one side, you have the 1500 BCE theory. Some top archaeologists carbon-dated specific pottery, wood samples, and shallow water anchors found at the site to roughly 3,500 years ago. So some historians have used this to argue that the deeper histories were just mythological. But on the other side, we have the 5525 BCE theory. Deepwater artifacts found in the Gulf of Cambay carbon date to over 7,500 years ago. This deeply older timeline is perfectly backed by that global oceanography data we just looked at, along with the astronomical software data. Literally, we are looking at a 4,000-year gap in the scientific data.
So how on earth do we reconcile a gap like that? Well, one really compelling solution is the multiple sinkings theory. According to ancient texts like the Vishnu and Skanda Puranas, Dwaraka didn't just sink once. It was actually built and submerged up to 6 different times. Under this theory, the Great Flood destroyed the original Grand City in 5525 BCE, leaving those massive ancient ruins down in the deepest waters. But survivors, or maybe later generations, rebuilt right on top of the shallower ruins to restore their great trade hub. And honestly, that perfectly explains why 1500 BCE Roman trade artifacts are found layered right on top of much older, deeper foundations. It's like a giant puzzle. To finally solve this layered puzzle, the Archaeological Survey of India's underwater wing and the Indian Navy have stepped in with some incredible modern tech. They are currently using the INS Near-to-Shock survey ship with multi-beam sonar to create a flawless 3D map of the ocean floor. And they're moving way past standard carbon dating, too. They're using advanced OSL techniques to figure out exactly what year those underwater stones last saw sunlight. They're even pulling up sediment cores to do DNA analysis on the mud, essentially biologically reconstructing the exact 7,500-year-old climate shock. It is phenomenal science. And well, that brings us to the end of this explainer, and I want to leave you with a question to think about. 1500 BCE artifacts or 5525 BCE global oceanography? Which timeline's scientific dataset do you find more compelling? Is the true Golden City still waiting entirely in the deepest abyss, or is the real story told in the overlapping layers? The name board might be missing, but the stones and the sea level data are definitely speaking to us from under the waves. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and thank you so much for joining me on this incredible deep dive.
I hope you enjoyed this deep dive. If you want to keep exploring history with us, make sure to subscribe to Ask the Timeline and turn on notifications. Every like helps this channel grow and keep